Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back. Today's Daf is Shekelim Daf Tes. We are 7 lines from the top of the Amud, beginning with the parenthesis. Tani, we learned in a Bryce, Yavish Kazayis. We're picking up on the topic we began yesterday regarding the Shir of Haitza'as Shabbos. If one carries out some wine into the street on Shabbos, the Shir, the minimum amount, which constitutes a Shir Chashivus, an amount of prominence, which is considered a Malacha, is a Revi'is. When we discuss wine, a Revi'is of diluted wine is considered a Shir Chashiv. But if it is undiluted wine, highly concentrated wine, you don't have to have a Revi'is. Even a quarter of that amount is enough, because with a quarter Revi'is of Yain Chai, of undiluted wine, you can produce a Revi'is of diluted wine, working with the formula of 1 part wine mixed with 3 parts water. So if it's Yain Chai, undiluted wine, a quarter of a Revi'is is enough. If it's diluted wine, Yain Mazur, you need a Revi'is. Tani, Yavish Kazayis, Divi Rabbi Nassim. Rabbi Nassim maintains this concept that undiluted wine only needs a little bit, a small share, because it can produce a full Revi'is of diluted wine. That only applies to liquefied wine. But Yavish, if it's congealed and hardened, dried wine, that cannot produce anything. You can't mix it with water, and therefore you need a full shear. How much is the shear? A kazayis. Why a kazayis? Because a revi'is corresponds to kazayis. When a revi'is dries up, it forms a kazayis of solid matter. So according to Rabbi Nassim, since the shear of yain is revi'is, that's when it's liquefied. And likewise, when it dries, you need a shear kazayis. Rabbanan the Kessler, the Rabbanan of Caesarea, Rabbi Yossi bar Bevi, said in the name of B'Shem Shmuel, I have a different approach to Rabbi Nassim's shita. Asya the Rabbi Nassim Rabbi Shimon. The point of Rabbi Nassim is not because once it's dried, it cannot be diluted. That's not the point. Rather, he's following Rabbi Shimon, discussed in the Mishnah Shabbos. Any mashkin, any liquids, require an amount of a revi'is. Even undiluted wine, high quality, concentrated wine, needs to have a revi'is. Kamad Reb Shimon Amar Revi'is. Just as Reb Shimon tells us elsewhere, you need to have a sheer revi'is. Kain Amar Rabbi Nassim Revi'is. Likewise, Rabbi Nassim maintains a revi'is is a sheer when it's liquid. So how does he get to kazayis? Very simple. Likashe yikarish. Because when that liquid wine congeals, it forms a kazayis. V'yeba kazayis. So since the sheer is revi'is, the corresponding amount, the corresponding volume to that is a kazayis. That explains Rabbi Nassim's shit. So again, Rabbi Nassim makes a statement. Yain Yavish needs to have a kazayis. We have 2 approaches. Either, generally speaking, undiluted wine, highly concentrated wine, does not need a revi'is. Even a quarter of that amount is enough because it can produce a revi'is of diluted wine. Yeah, that applies to liquefied wine. But Yavish, which cannot, in its current state, do much, you need a full shear, which is a kazayis that corresponds to the revi'is, because they're interchangeable. According to the second approach, Rabbi Nassim concurs with Rabbi Shimon's approach, that holds that generally speaking, all liquids require a revi'is. Whether diluted wine, undiluted wine, it's always a revi'is, and therefore the corresponding shear in dry matter is a kazayis. The more proceed with a new topic. We know that an nevela, an animal which dies, is matame. The basar is matame. All the edibles are matame, but the inedibles, like the bones, the hooves, the horns, are not matame. What about the blood, the dam of the nevela? Minat apparently it's not matame. But there are some shitas, there's a machlekes, whether the chachamim apply the tumah even to the dam of a nevela. On account of its basar, things might get confused. You might mix up the dam with the basar, therefore they apply a tumah to the dam as well, provided is a shear. What is a shear? As we just mentioned, if you want to match up liquid to solid, you have to work with the revi'is kazayis ratio. And since the shear of the tumas nevela by basar is a kazayis, correspondingly the shear that the chacham would apply by the dam is if it has the required shear, which is a revius. So that's one shita, that there is a tumah d'rabbanan, even on dam nevela, provided it has a revius. The other approach is, it's actually on Chagis B'Sham B'Sil, the other approach is that no, there is no tumah on dam nevela, even d'rabbanan. So the Gemara proceeds with a discussion on this topic. We have lots of names. Don't get confused. It's really just one thread going through the whole sugya. Is dam nevela tar completely, or is it tamim midrabanan provided is a sheer revius? The Gemara begins with a story. Rabbi Simon said in the name of B'Shem of Shomalevi, Ma'aseh predas Rabbi Shemesa. The story that the Rabbi the Nasi, his mule died v'tiaru as dama mishum nevela, and the Chachamim will metaher the dam of this mule. They did not consider it tummy on account of an nevela. Now there are two ways to look at this story. They will metaher because dam nevela is not tummy, or because it had less than a shear. V'shal Rabbi Eliezer asked Es Rabbi Simon, Ad kama, until what point will they metaher? So this was a loaded question, meaning there's two ways to understand the story. Was it tar completely, regardless of the shiur, because dam nevela is tar, or was it because there was only a small amount there? It was less than a revius. So which way is it? V'li ashkech bey. Rabbi Simon did not respond, didn't pay attention to the question. So Rabbi Eliezer proceeded. V'sha'al the Rabbi Shimon Levi. So he went to the source. It was Rabbi Simon who said over in the same of Shimon Levi, right? So he went back to the source of Shimon Levi. And he asked him the same question. V'amalei, and he responded to him, Ad revius tar. The reason why it was tar was because it was less than a revius. That was the point. Until revius it's tar. Yoiser mirvius tummy. But certainly past that it's tummy. Because according to Rabbi Shimon Levi, the psak and the household of Rebbe was not that dam nevela is tar completely. The psak was that if it has less than a shear, it's tar. But certainly if it has a revius, it's tummy. We're going to learn soon that the poisik, the in-house poisik in the home of the Nasir, of Rebbe, was actually Rabbi Yehuda, who interestingly enough in Meseches Idias, I think, says that that the dam nevela is tummy. So the shittas really match up. So in any case, that was his version, of Shimon Levi's version, that certainly dam nevela is tummy midrabanan if it has the right shear. Ubash l'Rabbi Eliezer, who asked this question first to Rabbi Simon, and was not paid attention to, he was upset. Why Rabbi Simon did not respond to him, not give him this information? Okay, the Gemara stops here and continues with another story. Rav Bevi Yosef Masni Hadenuvda. Rav Bevi was sitting and saying over this story, this incident that occurred in the house of Rabbi. When he prayed that it died, the Chacham will metire the dam. Amalei Rabbi Yitzchak Babisna. Gohena up until this point, meaning I'd like to know what happened there. Basically the same question. Ad revius tar Yosef Mekantami. Up until what point would they metire? Was it because it was less than a revius? And the point was, ad revius is tar, because it was less than a shear. Yosef Mekan tummy, but past that it's tummy, because really dam nevela is tummy? Is that what happened there? Or perhaps they ruled that dam nevela is completely tar. Which way is it? U'ba'at. So Rav Yitzchak was the one who asked it to Rav Bevoy, and ba'at he kicked him. Perhaps not literally, it just means he ignored him. He didn't respond. He didn't pay much attention to his question. The Karber 8 says Garba. He didn't respond nicely to him. Amalei Rabbi Zrika. So Rabbi Zrika turned to Rav Bevoy, and he admonished him. Begin the shalach. Just because he asked you a shayla and halach at ba'ape, you kick him? Amar lei, so he responded, I didn't have the right frame of mind, the right yishuv hadas to relate properly to his question. Begin to lay havas daiti bi, since I didn't have my proper mindset. But itnabe, I kicked him away. Why? What was wrong? Because I had parnosa issues. I'm in a constant state of insecurity with respect to parnosa. De'amar Rabbi Chanan, v'hayu chayecha tluim lecha mineged. There's a pasuk in the Teichacha. Your life will be hanging in the balance. Will be living a life of insecurity. Zeh sheleikeach chitim l'shana, referring to a person who purchases his food supply once a year. He doesn't have a farm, his own source of chitim. He has to buy his chitim out in the marketplace. He'll never know whether it's going to be available, have enough money to purchase. So he's living in a constant state of insecurity. This is a higher state of insecurity. He'll be gripped with pachad night and day. This is a fellow that relies on the wholesaler. Once a week he goes and picks up his wheat. He never knows whether he'll run out or he'll run out of money. So he's living in a constant state of insecurity. It's a third level. He won't have any emunah, any trust, any security at all. It's a person purchasing from the baker. Once a day he goes to the store to buy his bread. He'll never know whether it's there, whether it's not, whether they run out, whether they'll have enough funds to purchase bread. So that's the most extreme state of insecurity. And look at me, this is Rabbi speaking. I belong in the third category. I depend on the palter for my sustenance. And therefore, he was explaining himself. I'm living in a state of insecurity. At that point, I didn't have the right yishuv hadas, the right frame of mind to relate to his question properly. Okay, getting back to the halacha. Umal kedain. What's the conclusion regarding dam nevel? Is it tar completely, or does it have a tumah with the rabbanon? And the shear is revius, which corresponds to the shear kazais of the basar. Says the Gemara, Heid Rabbi Yehuda ben Pesera. Some have Rabbi Yehuda ben Pesera. He testified al dam nevel shu tar. The Gemara assumes he meant completely tar. There's no tumah at all to nevel, to dam nevel. Says we're not necessarily. Ma'o tar. Maybe when we say tar melahachshet. We mean that it doesn't have the ability to be machsher, something to be mekabel tumah. We know there are 7 mashkim, primary liquids, which when they fall on fruit and get them wet, those fruit become huchsher, become enabled for tumah. One of those liquids is dam, but it's unique to dam shchita. But dam coming from a wound of an animal, or likewise in this case, dam nevela, it's tar melahachsher. Only dam shchita is unique in a sense that the Torah refers to it like water. Kamayim has the same quality, has the same halachic qualities as water. But otherwise, other types of dam, like dam nevela, doesn't have the din of mind, doesn't have the din that it can be machshir something like kabel tumah. So perhaps that's what we meant when we said tar melahachshir. Aval atamis metame. But perhaps dam nevela can be metame. So even when Rabbi Yehuda ben Pesera says it's tar, not necessarily doesn't mean it's completely tar. Or even when in the house of Rebbe, they paskin, they rule that the dam and nevela is tar, doesn't necessarily mean completely tar. It can't be machshir, but perhaps it's metame. Says the Gemara, you can't say that. Because tamon tanina, we learned elsewhere in the Mishnah, that masheretz kipsori. If you have a sheretz, for instance, a lizard, so the dam of that sheretz has the same din as the basar of sheretz. By a sheretz, the blood and the flesh, it's all one mush. It's not two distinct entities. Different than an animal which has basar and dam, it's two separate things. Here the sheretz, it's one mix, one entity. And it's metame ben machshir. The dam of the sheretz has the tumah of the basar, it's metame. They both have the same shear of kadosha, lentils, size of a lentil. A basar or dam of a sheretz is metame ben machshir. That dam doesn't have chashivas. It doesn't qualify to be machshir something. It doesn't have the chashivas of true dam. And the Mishnah continues, we have no other example of such a unique halach. where the dam is metame but not machshir. So that's the Mishnah there. Getting back to our discussion. You were proposing that when we spoke about dam nevela being tar, it meant that it can't be machshir, but it is metame. But this Mishnah clearly tells us we don't have another example of such a phenomenon. Dam being metame but not machshir. That's unique to dam hasheretz. Apparently, when we speak about dam nevela being tar, we meant completely tar. Says the no, not necessarily. Vishir to masa. Perhaps what's unique about sheretz is the shear of dam. Shedame metame kibsari. We have something unique by sheretz, which we don't find anywhere else. What is that? That the dam is metame with the same shear as the basar. The basar of a sheretz is metame, provided it has a shear of kadasha, like a lentil. And the dam likewise has that same shear. The dam and basar of a sheretz are so closely linked and related, they have the same shear. That's unique by sheretz. That's something which you don't find anywhere else. And therefore, perhaps, dam nevela is metame. When we speak about dam nevela being tar, we meant it can't be machshir, but it is metame. Although the Mishnah tells us that something to be metame, not be machshir, is unique and is only found by sheretz, that's not what the Mishnah meant. That phenomenon can be found elsewhere as well. For instance, by nevela, it's metame but not machshir. What's unique about sheretz is the shear aspect, that the dam and basar have the same shear, whereas by nevela they don't have the same shear. Basar and nevela needs a kazayis. The dam and nevela is a revius, which is a different type of shear. Concludes the Gemara. Rabbi Yosi, actually it's a machlekes. Pligi between Amoraim. It's a machlekes between two Amoraim. This question whether dam nevela is matame or not. Chadam atame, v'chadam atar. One says tame, one says tar. Ma'adam atame, the one that holds tame. Rabbi Yehuda follows Rabbi Yehuda's shita, as we mentioned earlier. He's the one that maintains that the Chacham applied a tumah to dam nevela. U'ma'adam atar, kavishub and pesera. The one that says tar is found shub and pesera, as we just mentioned, who testified that dam nevela is tar. Amalei Rav Avduma, the min nechuta. Rav Avduma from the town of Nechuta turned to him and he said, yeah, v'yo, it's correct. You've said it correctly. The Rabbi Yehuda Moraina de Bein Nesiav. Apparently Rabbi Yehuda is the one that holds Tameh because he was the one that ruled in the home of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. He was the Moraina, the Paisek, the in-house Paisek of the Bein Nesiav, the home of the Nasi. And we hear from that story that he is Matame. The story where the Preda of Rebbe died. And Chacham said that the dam is tahar, but, as we explained earlier, Rabbi Shlomo Levi explained matters. It was only tahar because it was less than a shear, indicating that if it would have a shear of a revius, it would be tameh. So this reflects Rabbi Yehuda's shita. Rabbi Yehuda was a paisik in that household, and he indeed holds that dam nevela is tameh. So conclusion, dam of a nevela, some say it's completely tar, some say there's a tumah d'Rabbanan provided it has a shear revius. The reason why it has a tumah d'Rabbanan, because asil lemichlef might be exchanged with the meat, people might not tell them apart, the blood from the flesh, and therefore it has a shear, has a din tumah, and the shear of tumah's dam nevela corresponds to the shear of the basar nevela. Since basar nevela is matam b'kazayis, what is the corresponding shear by liquid? Right, as we mentioned earlier, the liquid which hardens. How much liquid which hardens to a kazayis? How much liquid is needed? A revius. And that's why the shear tumah is a revius. Shema Yane v'yamir b'chul. Going back to the Mishnah, where this fellow would walk into the lishka, the chamber which housed the machzah shekel coins, to perform trumas halishka. And we learned that he's meant to conduct himself in a manner which prevents any appearance of wrongdoing and dishonesty. We don't want to suspect that he pocketed any money. Tani Rabbi Yishmael, kavutz, one that has long hair, perhaps braided hair, a ponytail, lo yitrim, he shouldn't be involved in Trumas Alishka. Why? He might arouse suspicion. People might think, well, he put some money in his hair. Tani, we went to the Brisa, Hagizburn, Hayumafaspis Bekilkul. They would straighten out any knotted hair, any knots in his clothing, so there are no hidden pockets to hide some coins. Tani, Medabrin Hayu Imai, the shemrim, the guards, would keep him engaged in conversation. What's going on? What's news? Mishashu nichas achashu yaitze. From the moment he entered until the moment he walked out. This way, he has no chance of putting any money in his mouth and perhaps swallowing money. They'll keep him talking. Why do we have to keep him engaged in conversation? We have a simple solution. Fill his mouth with water and keep it filled the entire time. Bracha. A problem because he has to make a bracha. If his mouth is filled with water, he can't make a bracha. So that wasn't an option. Rather, they would keep him talking the whole time. Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachman said in the name of B'Shem Rabbi Yonasan, but Torah, B'Neviim, B'Ksuvim. We find throughout Tanakh, in Torah we have a source, in Neviim, in Ksuvim, that a person has to account for impressions. One has to satisfy the brius as well. He's accountable for creating a wrong impression. He must conduct himself with integrity in a way that will eliminate any chashash of people suspecting wrongdoing. Just as if you have to be accountable to Hashem, you have to make sure to create the right impression amongst your peers. But Torah Minayin, where is the source from Torah? Have to be clean from Hashem, but also from Yisrael, create the right impression. But Nevi'im Minayin, where's the pasuk in Nevi'im? This was when the Bnei Reuven made a Mizbeach, Ever Liyardin, and there was room for a chashash that perhaps it was for Avodah Zarah, and they responded, no, Yisrael must know, it must be clear to them, this is not something inappropriate. So we see that you have to clear your reputation. Make sure you're not creating any impression of wrongdoing. But Ksuv Minayin, where is the source in Ksuv? The Chsiv, the pasuk in Mishlei, Umutzachin v'seichel toiv, ben elkim ba'ada, make sure to find favor in the eyes of Hashem and people. Gamliel Zuga, Gamliel, who was a matchmaker, that was his profession, professional shadchan, Shal Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Bun. He asked Rabbi Yossi Bun the following question: we have three sources. Which one do you think is the most powerful source? Which drives home the point the best way? Amar Lei, he said, it's actually the pasuk in Chumash. V'yisam nikim Hashem Yisrael. That one really teaches us the lesson. Make sure you're clean, you have the right reputation. Me Hashem u'mi Yisrael. What's wrong with the other psukim? So the Farshim say the pasuk describing the Mizbeach, El Kim Hashem, Yisrael Yeda, that was to clear the air. They did something which created a bad impression. Mizbeach, perhaps it looks like it's Avodah Zarah. So they have to go and clear the air, clear the reputation, undo the wrong impression they already made. The pasuk of Mitzochem v'Seichel Toiv, perhaps the pshat here is, if one conducts his life appropriately in Torah and mitzvahs, Hashem will endow him with this schus that will find favor in the eyes of people. But not necessarily is it an instruction on the person to go pursue chen v'seichel toiv. That's why we have the third pasuk, Yisem Nekiyim, Ma'Hashem Yisrael, which really drives home the point. You must ensure that the way you conduct your lifestyle is in a way which creates good impressions and avoids any even slight impressions of wrongdoing. Says the Mishnah, Shal Beis Rabbi Gamliel, there was a representative coming from the household of Rabbi Gamliel, who was a Nasi. He used to do as follows: Haya Nichnas, he would come just in time when the Gizbar would arrive into the Lishka to do Trumas HaLishka, to remove some funds to fund the Karbanas Tzibur. And the fellow who represented the home of Rabbi Gamliel, he would ensure that his coin, the coin that he was bringing along from the Rabbi Gamliel's home, would actually be part of the Trumas HaLishka. He didn't want to remain behind and the Lishka be considered Shirai. He wanted that coin should be used. That very coin should supply the Karbanis Tzibur. And since not all coins would end up being used for Karbanis, he would stand there in the nick of time and pitch his coin right to the fellow who was scooping up the coins for Trumas Halishka. This way, that coin ended up in the bucket used for the Karbanis. He would enter the Shekelim and its ba'isa for this coin between his fingers. He would wait for the right moment and pitch it right in. He would toss it in front of the fellow doing Trumas Halishka. And the Torah would follow, cooperate, and scoop it into the container for Trumas Halishka, which was eventually used for Karbanis Tzibur. This individual who would do Trumas Halishka, he would not proceed with Truma until he made an announcement and he got permission. Until he turns to them, whether it's the Bezdin or whatever, he would turn to them and ask, should I withdraw these funds? They respond, yeah, sure, do it. Shalish Pam, 3 times. Some explain that this was a back and forth. Should I be Torah? Etraim. So it was done 3 times. The point was, again, to avoid suspicion, or perhaps people might think he's going in there to pocket some money. No. He would make a public announcement, a public scene. Should I do Truma? Yes. 3 times over. We find many times in Gemara Mishnayos that the Lashon Chachamim was done 3 times over. Perhaps there's some deeper meaning to it. We find by Tzir Sa'imer, we find by Hatar Sandarim, Mutalacha. So it was done 3 times over. So how would he do Trumas Halishka? Taramas Rishayna. He would remove from the first bucket the chiba bekat valiyos, and he would cover with some leather mat. Now, before we proceed, I meant to know there are several approaches, actually 2 main ways of explaining this whole concept, this process, the Trumas Halishka procedure. These are Ben Avadim Patanura, the Rav, and there's the Rambam. Many Mefarshim follow the Rambam, who explains as follows. The Master Shekel coins would arrive starting from before Rosh Chodesh Nisan, and fill up this room called a lishka, this chamber which housed all those coins. The Rambam explains that on the first day of Nisan, you would do the Trumas Halishka in 2 stages. Firstly, we mentioned this yesterday, you would take large, very large-sized containers, kupas, each one with a 9 sa'ah capacity. So you have 9-liter containers, big, huge ones. And you would fill them with the coins of the lishka. So that was the first phase. Take 3 large-sized containers, 3 kupas, fill them up with coins. The coins contained therein were meant to supply the entire year's karbanis. That's it. You only removed coins from the lishka once a year, at the beginning of the year. But that was only the first step in Trumas Halishka. Then, says the Rambam, you would proceed with smaller sized buckets, containers, each one with a 3 sa'ah capacity. And you would do as follows. You have 3 small containers, and you approach the large containers. Now the 3 small ones were called Aleph, Beis, and Gimel. We learned yesterday, each one was labeled. You take Aleph and walk over to the large container, and you scoop some coins and you fill this small container with those coins. You take Beis, the next small container, you approach the large container, the large kupa, and you scoop out a kupa fill of coins. You do the same thing to the third one. You take the third bucket, you walk over to the large container, and scoop out coins. This took place Aleph Nisan. And now you completed the Trumas Halishka procedure. And you use the coins within these small buckets to purchase karbanis. Now this process would repeat itself before Shavuos and before Sukkot, meaning you wouldn't add more coins from the chamber, from the lishka, into the large containers, no. But rather you would take the small buckets and approach the large buckets again. So you take one bucket, and scoop out from the large container. You take the next bucket, scoop out again. Third bucket, scoop out again. Use that money until Sukkot. Sukkot time again, you repeat this process. So that's how the Rambam explains our Mishnah. Let's see inside. Torah Maser Rishayna. Torah means, you separated some funds. You withdrew some coins. You took a small size bucket. You approached the large container. You took out some coins. V'chipa bekatav liyos. Then you covered the large container with some leather mats. This way you've already taken some coins from that container. Hashniya. Then you approached the next container. We're speaking about the large sized containers. You take a small bucket, you approach the second container, you scoop out some coins. Again, you cover it with leather mats, v'chipa b'kativ lois. Hashlishis, when you did it with the third, you wouldn't cover it any longer. And the point was, because next time around, before Shavuos, you'll begin scooping from the third container. You'll start with number 3, and then go back to 1 and 2. The third time around, Sukkot time, you'll begin with 2, over to 3, back to 1. The point was to give them all an equal chance, so that all large containers will contribute evenly to all different types, to all 3 small buckets, to give them each a chance. So we'd rotate, and again, first time it's large container 1, then 2, and then 3. Shavuos time, you begin from 3, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2. And Sukkot time, it's 2, 3, 1. So Hashlish lo yemachaper. When he scooped up from the third container, this is Pesach time, he scooped from number 1, from 2, and he ended with 3. He didn't cover that. The point was, you should remember, this is the one that was last. This way you can begin from it next time. Next time you start from number 3. What was the point of covering to begin with? So you shouldn't forget and take more coins from the container from which you already took coins. This way you cover it to indicate you've already approached that container. So he has these small buckets. He's approaching the large containers. The first scoop is L'Shem Eretz Yisrael. He had the people of Eretz Yisrael in mind. Vashniya, with the second bucket, right, he approached the second container, took a scoop. That was L'Shem Krachem HaMukafim. Who do you have in mind here? For the sake of these cities which are in close proximity to Eretz Yisrael. Vashlishis, the third scoop from the third container was L'Shem Bavel, L'Shem Madai. He had in mind the people of Bavel, of Madai, L'Shem Medina, Sorachaikas, for the fellows living far away from Eretz Yisrael. Now the truth is, as we're going to see in the Gemara, he really had everybody in mind. L'Shem Kol Yisrael. During all scoops, during all 3 seasons of the year, because everybody has to have an equal part in the Karbanos Tzibur. So these coins, which is going to scoop up, are inevitably going to represent all of Yisrael. But as the Mefarshim explained based on the Gemara back on the base, he wanted to highlight the fact that everybody has a part. So he sort of was making an announcement. This is for Eretz Yisrael, this is for Bavel, this is for... So everybody should realize that they're meant to take a part in the Shekelim, even though you're living far away. You're meant to send in your Shekelim to have a chelik in Karbanos Tzibur. So that's why he would announce his intention. So again, just to summarize, according to the Rambam, the coins would arrive into this Lishka, beginning of the year, Aleph Nisan. They would take large, very large sized containers, each one containing 9 sa'ah. They would fill it with coins. And that was the initial stage of the Trumas Halishka procedure. And then he would take small sized buckets, Aleph, Beis, and Gimel, and scoop out from those large sized containers. He would do it 3 times a year. And the money contained in the small sized buckets were used to purchase the karbanos. Says the Gemara, so this fellow would pitch his coin at the right moment, the right place, to get it into the Trumas Halishka. What's the point? Says the Gemara, Ilu hayu shnei kriyim. Suppose a person has 2 piles of grain. V'taram echad men al chaver. And he removes truma for one pile, having the other one in mind as well, to be mitzi the other one. Doesn't that work? Shemalei patach chaver. You don't think it exempts the other one? Truma can account for everything. Trumas halishka encompasses everything that was in that room. What was the benefit of pitching his coin into the Trumas halishka bucket? Hanachas ruach ilahem. You're right. Halachically, there's no difference, but it satisfied them. Shelo yehi carbon miskarev ela mishalahen tchila. They wanted that the carbon should be purchased from their coins, and tchila means that right away they wanted that their coins should be the first ones used. It's the reason Magdim mitzvahs. That's why he would position himself in a strategic way so that his coin would end up perhaps on the top of the bucket, so that it would be used first, meaning to supply the first karbanis of the year. Tani went in a brisa, shamat es hakatav lios. So he took a small bucket, went over to the large container, and removed some funds, covered it with some leather. Suppose he pulled out the mat, and the coins contained in that large container spilled out and went back into the lishka. Now we have trouble. Nasu kul and shirayim. They're all considered like shirayim, like leftovers. We don't know which one's what. You can no longer use them for karbanis. Tani, we learned in a brisa, shlishis, by the time they executed the 3rd stage, meaning the withdrawal, sukkah's time, by that time, the lishka was filled with gold. And that was the most usher, the wealthiest of all. Why? Because remember, the ones living far away from Eretz Yisrael, by the time their coins would arrive, it would already be perhaps sukkah's time, and since it was coming from a distance, they would perhaps convert it to gold coins to make for easier transport. That's why the lishka at that time was filled with gold coins. Shoyaba is Teriya Shalzov, V'darkon Shalzov, all types of gold coins, as a result of the latest shipment coming from the faraway lands. Tani, we learned in a brisa, Torah Meser Rishona L'Shem Eretz Yisrael, U'L'Shem Kol Yisrael. He takes his small-sized buckets, approaches the large containers. So the first scoop from the bucket number 1, scooping from container number 1, was L'Shem Eretz Yisrael. That was for the sake of the people in Eretz Yisrael. L'Shem Kol Yisrael. Of course, he had everybody in Yisrael in mind. So technically, it applied to everybody. But he highlighted, he was madgish. It's for Eretz Yisrael. Shniel L'Shem Krachim Mukafim. The second scoop, he announced, this is for these cities, the inhabitants of these cities next to Eretz Yisrael. So Mukafim means the cities next to Eretz Yisrael. U'L'Shem Kol Yisrael. And he added, of course, this is for all of Yisrael as well. Vashlishis, and the third scoop was L'Shem Bavel, U'Madai, U'L'Shem Medinas Arachaykos. And of course he concludes again, U'L'Shem Kol Yisrael. Tani went on a brisa. Notal Min Rishon. So again we have the large containers and these small buckets. He takes bucket Aleph, approaches the large container number 1, and takes a scoop. Although there is many coins left still in the first large container, he didn't empty it, he just took a small scoop. He doesn't go back to the first one, rather, he takes the next container, the next small size container, and approaches the second large size container and scoops from there. When he's done taking the second one, although there's lots of coins remaining there, he proceeds to the third, the large container, and takes from there. That was the way to do it. Take a bit from here, a bit from here, a bit from here. We actually learned the other day that there's a remez from the pasuk Shlishis HaShekel B'Shana. Everything is meant to be done in 3 sums. So we have 3 large containers, 3 buckets, and we alternate back and forth. Everybody gets a fair chance, and everybody's involved in funding Karbanis Tzibur. So he scooped from the first one, he scooped from the second one, scooped from the third. Now suppose the coins in these small containers were depleted, completely used up, before Shavuos comes. It's not yet time for the second season, the second designated date for Trumas Halishka. So what do? Certainly you go back to the large containers and you scoop again. So if initially he did it first bucket, taking some money out of the first container. Bucket number 2, or Beis, I should say Aleph and Beis. Beis, scooping from the second container, and Gimel, scooping from the third container. So now when he ran out, when those funds were depleted, he has to go refill those small containers. He would begin with Gimel. Right? As we mentioned in the Mishnah, it's always back and forth. You have to alternate. This way they all have an equal share in all 3 buckets. So he begins with 3. Right? It was 1, 2, 3. They all got finished. So he starts with 3, giving the third large container a chance to be the first one this time. So he begins with 3. Then he goes back to 2. And he goes back to 1. So he takes the third container, or scoops from the third large container, takes the second bucket, and scoops from the second large container, takes the first bucket, and scoops from the first large container. Let's say money is depleted again. He begins the process again. Bucket number 1 from container number 1. Bucket number 2 from container number 2. Bucket number 3 from container number 3. Money is depleted again. So he starts again. Bucket number 3 from container 3. Suppose at this point, container 3 has been emptied. There's nothing left in the large container as well. Shomosh Lishis, the third one, become empty. So he goes back to number 2 to scoop out the remaining funds in large container number 2. Shomosh Shnia, the second one is depleted. He goes back to number 1. Shomosh Lashtan, what if all large containers have been depleted? What should we do now? You have to make another appeal. Rabbi Yisai, send in another matzah shekel. You cannot use the coins that are left behind in the lishka. That's shirayim. That doesn't have the same kedusha any longer. It's been relegated to shirayim and cannot be used for the karbanis. Rather, you make another collection of a matzah shekel anu. There's no problem. You can go back to the shirayim, because initially the shirayim were really reserved as a backup for such a situation. Rameya holds, if one benefits even from the shirayim coins, he has committed me'ilah. Why? Tanakama disagrees. He says shirayim, it doesn't have the same kedusha. Rameya says, yeah, it does. Why? Because initially we knew that they may serve as a backup, and therefore they also acquired the same kedusha. In a sense, they have the same kedusha as a trumas halishka. Therefore, Rameya says, if one has a no, he's committed me'ilah. And likewise, in our case, when they ran short, animal prices rose that year, whatever it was, they ran short, they can revert to the shirayim and use it to supply the karbanas tzibur. Continues the Gemara, V'chein, Hoya Rabbi Pinchas ben Yorim, the famous brisa, the whole Sefer Mesillas Yesharim, based on this brisa. Now, what is V'chein? What is the connection here? So I saw some pshatim as follows. Simple pshat is that it's a continuation of the previous concept. Rameir says, even the leftover monies were really designated initially to be used in a time of need as a backup for the karbanas tzibur. So we see that a person must have things in mind. You have to think ahead. You have to live a life of cheshbon. Pre-plan your life with zehiras and zerizas and diligence. So that takes up to the brisa, which highlights the importance of zehiras, of zerizas. There's another pshat that we're going to discuss in the Nikiyas as well. Make sure you have a good reputation. Clean yourself of any possible suspicions, and that relates to the story of Rabbi Gamliel, of the fellow going into the Trumas Halishka room there, to do it in a way which avoids any impression of wrongdoing. That's the concept of Nikiyim, V'yisem Nikiyim Hashem Yisrael. Another pshat, we discussed Zrizis in this brisa, which was demonstrated by Rabbi Gamliel's shliach, who would make sure to be the first one there. His coin should be used tchila for the karbanis, and that's a true demonstration of diligence and zehirus. Continues the Gemara, V'chein haya Rabbi Pinchas ben Yor Omer. He would say as follows: there's a ladder of a ladder of spiritual success, is a roadmap for spiritual success, as follows. Zrizus, if a person is diligent, mevil adenikis, a person is zoris in mitzvahs, he thinks ahead, he does things diligently, bezrizus, it brings him to nikiyas. Nikiyas means, as Mr. Sharm explains, he's cleansed of any tinge of wrongdoing. So when you fill your life with positive experiences, there's no room for anything else. So he gets freed from any wrongdoing. Nikiyus, mivil de tahara. When a person achieves that level of nikiyus, that brings him to the next level, purity. So although he's cleansed of any practical wrongdoing, it doesn't mean that his intent is pure, his machshava is pure. Perhaps he has ulterior motives. That's the next step. Tahara, pure mind, pure motives. Tahara, if one achieves that madrig of tahara, mevil de kedusha. Now he's zeicha to be endowed with a higher measure of kedusha from Hashem. If you do what's incumbent on you, a person maximizes his effort, he's zeicha to siyat d'shmaya to kedusha. Kedusha mevidi anova. If a person achieves the madrig of kedusha, he feels so connected to Hashem. He doesn't view himself as a separate entity. He's so connected and so batal to Hashem. He lives a life of utmost humility. Anova mevil de yarschet. Once he experiences that, by him, ruchni, spirituality, is reality. He's very sensitive to chet. He has a pachad, a fear for chet. Yiras chet, mevil de chasidus. The next step is chasidus. Not only does he do what's needed, what's required, he goes beyond the letter of the law, lefnim rishus sadin. Once he does that, now he's zeichet to a higher measure of siyad l'shmaya. You do something extra, Hashem gives you something extra as well. Chasidus mevil de ruach hakodesh. And what does that take you to? Ruach hakodesh mevil idei tchias hamesim. If one is ruach hakodesh, he can be zeicha even to be machayim mesim through his tefillah. Tchias hamesim mevil idei Eliyahu zechal hatoy. There's several pshatim in this. Either the next step is he's zeicha to Eliyahu Navi visiting him, or the fact that he brings the world, at least his aspect of the world, to the madrega of Tchias HaMesim. He brings about the arrival of Eliyahu Navi, who actually precedes Tchias HaMesim. That's the order of things. First Eliyahu Navi comes, and then Tchias HaMesim. So this fellow who achieves the dag of Tchias HaMesim, he precipitates the arrival of Eliyahu, which precedes Tchias HaMesim in the world. There's another pshat, the name of the Rabbeim of the Ritva, the Radbaz brings this. He said there are two stages of Tchias HaMesim. One for tzaddikim, one for everybody else. So first we speak about Tchias HaMesim for the tzaddikim, and that comes to the next step of Eliyahu Navi, which precedes Tchias HaMesim for everyone else. Now the Gemara is going to prove. How do we know that one thing leads to the next? Zrizus mevil de nikiyus. A person is a zorus that causes him to be cleansed of any wrongdoing. Dechsiv v'kila mechaper. Kila indicates that he's hurrying up, he's finishing, completing, he's doing things with bezriz, mechaper. Mikaper is the remez that it brings to kapara, to purity, to nikiyus. Nikiyus mevil de tahara. Nikiyus leads to purity of intent, of mind, dechsiv v'chipar le'akoyin. So we see that kapara, cleansed of any wrongdoing, v'tahira brings to the higher level, cleansing of the mind and the intent. Tahara mevil de kedusha. That endows a person with kedusha. Dechsiv v'tiaroi. What's the next level? V'kitche. Kedusha mevil de anava. That leads to humility. Dechsiv kikoy amar ram v'nisa. This is Hashem speaking. Sheikhan ad v'kodesh shemai. Morim v'kodesh eshkan. I will dwell with one who is holy. There's dakosh falruach, with one who is exceptionally humble. So you see that kedusha v'kodesh eshkan leads to dakosh falruach, to anava. What's the next level? Anava mevil de yaschet brings to a high degree of fear of chet. Dechsiv ekev anava. What does anava lead to? Yiras Hashem. Yiras chet mevil de chasidus. It brings a person to go a step beyond what's required. Dechsiv v'chesed Hashem oilam ad oilam al yireyav. So that yireyav, the yirei Hashem, arrive at the next level of chesed, of chasidus. And finally chasidus mevil de ruach hakodesh. A person endeavors to do things extra out of chesed. Chesed is connected to ava. Right? Chesed is an extension of oneself, which is an expression of love. when a person expresses that inner love to Hashem, Hashem, I love you, you're my Father, I'll do anything, even beyond what's required, that is mezakeh with a high level of siyata d'shmaya, something which a human being can't really achieve on his own. Mevil derech hakodesh. T'chsiv, oz dibarta bechazon chasidecha, Hashem, you conversed with your chasidim. And the next level is ruach hakodesh mevil derech chamesim. T'chsiv, v'nosati ruchi bochem, I will place my spirit within you. That's ruach hakodesh, and that leads to tchias hamesim v'chisem. Tchias hamesim brings Elio. Mevil derech Elio navi zachatov. T'chsiv, hinei anoich shlech lachem es Elio navi. And next comes Tchias HaMesim. So we see that when you arrive at the Madrig of Tchias HaMesim, that heralds the arrival of Mashiach, of Eliyahu Navi, which is meant to precede the actual implementation of Tchias HaMesim. Tana b'shem Ramir. We learn the name of Ramir as follows: Kol mi shekavo b'Eretz Yisrael, one who resides in Eretz Yisrael. So he has the kedusha of Eretz Yisrael, u'medaber b'lashon hakodesh, and he speaks in lashon hakodesh. So he's mitayr his nefesh, his chadibur as well. Not only that, v'oichel paryosa b'Torah, he ensures that what he eats is Torah. So now he's mekadesh his guf as well. And finally, v'koyre krishma b'oker b'erev, he ensures that he reads krishma the morning and at night, is mekayim at a minimum the pasuk of v'gisa b'yoymam v'layla, by reading krishma in the morning and at night. So he was completely mekadesh himself in all his facets. You have the land where he's living, you have what he's eating, it's mekadesh his guf. You have the dibur, the nefesh, through speaking lashon hakodesh. We have conversing in Torah, which is mekadesh the neshama. So he's all covered. Yehi muvusar sheben olam habohu. This fellow is guaranteed, is foretold that he is a resident, he has a good part in olam haba. Hadron lach perek v'shlosh prakim. Says the Mishnah, Truma we speak about withdrawing funds from the lishka. This withdrawal is called trumas halishka. What would they do with those coins? They would use it to purchase all the karbanis. Karbanis tamid, karbanis musaf, vinis keim, and the mesachim, the wine, the oil needed. Ha'omer, the karban omer, shtei alechem for shvuas, lechem apanim, burned on a weekly basis. V'chol karbanis hatzibur, and for all the public karbanis. Now, what happened on Shemitah year? Where did they get the supply for the menachas, for the minchas ha'omer? Shomri svichen v'shviz. Svichen are the aftergrowths. So we have some loose kernels that somehow sprouted and produced stalks on shviz. You can't plant, but it just happened on its own. So that was meant to be reserved for the Beis HaMikdash. They positioned some shomrim, some guards there, to ensure that nobody takes away those svichen, which were needed for the Beis HaMikdash. So those fellows, those shomri svichen v'shviz, noitlin scharim et trumas halishka, they would receive their pay from trumas halishka, because this certainly was a public need. It was a tzerach karbanat tzibur. Rabbi Yossi Omer, you didn't necessarily have to pay them. Afa roitze, if somebody wishes, he can volunteer misnadev shemechinim. He can volunteer to do it for free. Omer, like the Chacham disagreed. They said no. There's a problem with that. Because if they do it for free, in effect, their zeich, the Rosh says, habata behefker kana. If one just peers, he gazes at hefker, he's kind. So it's really their grain. Now, Karban Tzibur is meant to be publicly owned. You can't use a private donation for Karban Tzibur. And you agree to that. You also agree, She'en boy and el mishal Tzibur, that the Karban Tzibur needs to be contributed by the tzibur, strictly by the tzibur. In this case, it's going to be a private contribution. Therefore, rather pay them. By paying them, either you're purchasing it from them, or the fact that they're doing it for pay, they won't be zoichet for themselves. Rather, they'll pick it up and give it to us, and it's going to be publicly owned, rather than privately owned. Rabbi Yossi apparently holds no concern, because even if they're zoichet, they'll give it back to the tzibur, they'll grant it wholeheartedly to the tzibur, and now it will be regarded as publicly owned and suitable for the Karban Tzibur. Okay, let's do a brief chazar of today's daf. We discussed that the shir kazayis in a solid item corresponds to revius in liquid. We had a machlokes whether Dam Nevela is Torah completely, or perhaps it's Tamei Midrabanan, provided it has a shear. We discussed the requirement of being meticulous in creating a good impression amongst people as well. We proceeded with the Mishnah describing the entire process of Tumas Halishka. We had a description of the spiritual ladder which we're meant to climb, and what they would do on Shemitah. Kol Tov, Hatzlacha Rav.